Hi and welcome. In this video I'm going to be talking about using command line utilities such as ipconfig and netsh. To get started, I'll be doing this in Windows 7. Normally I would be using my VMware workstation, which is a virtual environment that allows me to install ISO images of operating systems within that virtual environment, um, which would allow me not to use up valuable hard drive space on my actual physical computer. The other program I'm going to be using today is the free screen to video recording software provided by Coyote Soft. Um, I forgot to mention that the reason I'm not using that VMware workstation is because I've been having some issues with that lately. So I'm just going to go ahead and use my Windows 7 laptop. Um, as I said, I'm going to be covering using ipconfig and netsh. And to give you a quick overview on that, ipconfig is basically a command that's entered at a command line that displays basic TCP/IP settings of all active network connections. Uh, some of the common command lines used that follow along with ipconfig are ipconfig /all, which would display all the TCP/IP configuration settings. ipconfig /release disconnects all network connections that are configured to obtain an IP address automatically. The example being DHCP. Another one that you might use in the future is ipconfig /register DNS, display DNS. There's quite a bit there. And as far as the netsh command is concerned, um, that's it's a pretty powerful script tool that basically views or modifies the computer's network configuration locally. It also works in combination with other tools remotely. A quick example of that is the command. What that command can do is list IP version 4 and IP version 6 routing tables. And to go ahead and get started, what I'm going to do is open up. I'm going to open up the command prompt by clicking the star orb on the bottom left-hand side of the screen and typing C and D. And what you're going to want to do is right-click on this and run as administrator. So the first command I want to talk about is the ipconfig. So I'm just going to go ahead and type in. Let me enlarge this so you guys can see it. Hopefully you guys can see that all right. So if you type in ipconfig, hit enter. Again, that command displays a summary of the IP version 4 and version 6 information. As you see here, I'll try to mark this really quick. Here's my IP version 4 address, subnet mask, and my IP version 6 should be up here somewhere. Yeah. These numbers and letters right here. If you type in ipconfig /all, that gives you a more detailed list of IP configuration information such as the physical address, whether or not DHCP is enabled or disabled, the IP version 4 address, the subnet mask, the default gateway, and the DNS server. If we type in ipconfig /release, again, I talked about that a little bit earlier. What that does is releases the DHCP address on that computer. And now if you'll notice, it'll say media disconnected under the IP version 4 address. And if we renew that by typing, I hope you guys can see this here. Let's try that right there. If we type in ipconfig /renew, it for some reason it pops up and gives me an error on mine, and it does it anyway, but that might be because I'm running wireless. on this particular laptop. Um, so what the renew command does is it renews the DHCP address on the computer, gets a new one, and then it should list the IP version 4 address that we just did, which is right here again. Now, as you can see, my messengers and stuff are working now. If we type in the netsh command and hit enter, it can be used in an interactive mode where you navigate through menu levels to view information. So from the netsh command, we can actually type in interface, and now we are in the netsh interface, which changes to the interface context, and here you can get different information about network interface configuration. So if we type in IP version 4, we're now in the netsh interface of IP version 4, and from here you can get information about IP version 4 configuration. If you actually type in show, it gives you a really helpful list of commands that you can use along with the show command. So the one that we're going to be looking for is show address. It should be right here. I'll try to mark it for you guys. As you can see from the one I marked here, it says show address. I'm not exactly sure how well this is going to show up on the final video, but the very top one says show address, shows IP address configurations. So we're going to type in show address and hit enter. And that'll also, that's another way you can navigate to view the IP version 4 address of that computer. And we can actually we can type in set address, and what that does is shows help information on how to configure an IP address for DHCP or static. If a particular command is missing, required information, the help screen for that command is automatically output. And that concludes my video. Again, this was an overview of using ipconfig and netsh and doing different things like going into different interfaces of netsh, releasing DHCP, renewing DHCP, and a couple other things there. Thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoyed this video.